Hello, my name is Ryan Warnowski. I'm a senior at Ball State University, majoring in journalism graphics and minoring in digital media. This presentation is going to cover my capstone for my minor courses. Over the last 4 years, I have worked to develop my journalistic skills and help them transition into becoming a design thinker rather than just a designer. So for each year in the digital media minor, I develop new skills in learning how to work in both mobile, web, tablet environments, and how to design things thinking of defining a problem first, finding that audience, doing your research, and then user testing to make a product that fits a user. So there's been a lot of trials and tribulations over the last 4 years, and this capstone was a way that I can demonstrate all those skills that I developed. So let's go ahead and get started. So before any project, you can't just go out and start a project by going out and just kind of going. You have to do research. You have to be able to define what the problem is so you can go ahead and attempt to fix it. So the scope for this project is the term digital natives has been coined to define millennials, and that was made by Mark Prensky in 1991. So basically what he's saying is that there are digital natives and then there are digital immigrants. And the digital natives naturally have this ability to pick up technology because they've grown up with it and they don't know any else. Well, even though millennials have grown up with technology, the assumption that they are avid computer users that can easily filter information is false. 84% of undergraduates report that the most difficult step in the course-related research process was just getting started. So, to solve this problem, it's imperative to evaluate how millennials are using the internet, the tools provided in a Web 2.0 landscape, and then the goal and the end product is that I thought that college students needed an environment where they could use each other's knowledge to improve the quality of the research and critical thinking. So after defining the problem area, I had to go ahead and look for an audience. So naturally it made sense to pick undergraduates at Ball State University, and I specifically focused on honors college students because this is also pairing as my honors thesis. So below I contacted students in these classes, and one of the caveats that I kind of wish that I could push this project a little further is that we made it so far into the semester before the website was fully up and running that most students have finished their projects or don't really need the website right now as we're headed into summer. So I would like to maybe if in the future there was opportunity to test it when we were in mid-swing in the semester, that'd be awesome. But with that, knowing that the access and use of the website was a little less than I was hoping for. So the purpose of the project is to help the millennial generation build confidence when conducting academic research. To achieve this goal, I built a WordPress website that fully utilizes the plugin BuddyPress. The goal of the project was to reach out to undergraduate students at Ball State who, like myself, struggle with research and getting started on large projects. So now we're going to go ahead and look at the process. So at the beginning of the project, we created three design alternatives. So I have prototype X, Y, and Z. Right here is prototype X. And what I did is I had three completely different mindsets for each prototype. So prototype X was designed for the heavy content consumer that wants all that information right on the home page, that they can access that all, and they don't have to go to other pages to do anything. So that was prototype X. Prototype Y was a media heavy or a media driven, so it was all visual, videos, audio, all those cues are right there up in the visual. And then prototype Z had everyone was user specific. So what I had was every module was designed for the user. So write a question or responses to your question. So those were the big modules. So here's just a picture of X and kind of like what it looked like. It showed 4 pages that were going to be the main pages of the site and how they worked. So what I had to do is I asked 5 students to compare the 4 design alternatives, and each student was asked a question regarding the initial usability goals of the project. And after doing this, this usability list was able to grow, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Basically, in this example, I asked one of the user requirements was that it was a multi-person blog that allows for various media on each post. So what the users would do is they would say, is X better than Y? Is X better than Z? They would say which one is better, and then I would get a little bit of a response. So what we're going to end up finding from doing this research is that the content heavy, while appealing in that all the information was on the home page was somewhat overwhelming for people. Their eye was going to too many places and they couldn't really focus. So we kind of modified that in the final design. What I took away from media is that it appeals to visual learners, but it doesn't necessarily appeal to every user, and I didn't think it necessarily fit the content that was going to be on this website, and I kind of got that vibe from a lot of the user testing. Another finding was that people really liked the user center version because that's kind of the whole goal of the website is that you're asking a question, so you need to know immediately if someone's responded because you don't want to be sitting there waiting, not knowing. That's the whole purpose, is being timely, quick, efficient, answering your questions when you need to. So taking what I learned from this design alternative, I was able to build my first paper prototype. So here are 4 images of what it looked like. You can see the login screen. It's user-centered at the top, so you have 3 modules at the top that were answers for me, recent class questions, and then recent posts. It allowed you to make a post in a central area, have a class list to the left, and then a chat area to the right. And you can see that you can see the functionality with the create a class, and it was all really geared towards the user, and that was all because of the design alternative and early testing. So then we went ahead and did a second usability test where I created a cognitive walkthrough. And the walkthrough was composed of 4 essential tasks for achieving my usability goals. And for this usability test, I tested 5 users again for the web application. Each user was given a note card with a task provided. No help was given to the user. And as they went through the tasks, I followed with a score sheet and observed their behaviors. So here's an example of one of the charts that I filled out as a user was going through the test. So you can see that they have a scenario, and that's the scenario they will see on the note card. And I have the key that I hold with me. And as they go through each section, I'm writing down what I'm seeing in their behaviors, or if they ask me a question, I'm writing that down. I'm recording the information so I can see what steps they're taking and compare it to the steps that they are supposed to be taking. So in this example, Chad doesn't look at the first page very long. He assumes that he can find the information under his profile, and then he goes to the profile in the navigation bar. But to find the like, you just had to go to the feed and hit the like button. But that was confusing because the feed was tucked away. It wasn't on the home page, so there was lots of kind of confusing things right there. And that's just stuff I would be able to jot down. So there were a huge list of findings from the first cognitive walkthrough of user test, and that was awesome because that really, really helped me for making the final website when I took it to digital. But here are some of the big issues, and there were smaller ones too, but these were the major stepping points. So when users logged into the prototype, the homepage was very overwhelming and information dense. So even though I tried to cut back from the initial design alternative, it still proved to be too cumbersome for users to understand because it took too long for them to understand where they had to go for each section. In addition, there was a disconnect between the user and what was considered public and private. And that was one of the major user requirements, is that you can make public posts to anyone if you want, or you can make private groups. And there was no really distinction in the paper prototype of what was public and what was private. It was just, if a person went to class, they were kind of expected to know what was private, but that wasn't explained to the user other than if they were to go to an about page and read about it. But no user is really going to take the time to do that to understand your website. Few recognized that they needed to enter their classmates' email addresses into the create a class page. They just thought they'd send in their name or a friend request. So that was a change, and just changing the language of that page. And that's kind of one of the overall findings of this user test too, was that the language was confusing to the users. What I termed as a blog, users really thought that wasn't necessarily what they were looking for in this website. They were looking for more of an activity feed, and I agree, it wasn't really a blog where people are making posts. It's like an activity feed like you find any other social media site. So a lot of that language had to be changed when going to digital. In addition, the original design and profile page presented no information that couldn't be found on the other pages, so it didn't really do anything that was different as a profile page. I also learned that the profile pages could create negative or the like button or the dislike button that I originally had planned could create negative self-awareness. So if a person got disliked, they might lose all their confidence to make posts, and that defeats the entire purpose. So from here, I was able to make a list of user requirements that include collaborative spaces that individuals can use to invite people to share ideas, post questions, and brainstorm. A multi-person blog, one that allows for various media in each post, creating multiple spaces that are public and private, separate chat and posting tools, and you can see there are other ones there, but those are the main stepping stones. So then we get to go into the digital product, and this is a look at the home page right here. So you can go ahead and see that it was made using BuddyPress, and on what you're going to initially see is a slider where it's going to basically explain how the website works as it goes through. So our three main pillars are Ask, Engage, Learn. The About section explains the purpose of the website. You can go ahead and see on the left-hand side there's a class list, and on the right-hand side is where you can log in. So I'll take you through each page. You make it to the class page, you can see these are classes, and what you could do with the classes that you can make your own class, and then you can go ahead and invite any of your friends, make it public or private, and that many settings so people can engage in groups. So this is kind of a look into the honors capstone group, where I've been talking with other seniors that are doing their honors theses, just so you can see how they're doing and just kind of get an idea of what they're doing this semester. And then you have your members page. Now, when this was made, I put this image in the slideshow. This was before we added up a couple good amount of members, but right now I think we're close to 15 to 20. And you can just see all your members, so it's really easy to make friend requests. And you can see the site-wide activity on this is if you go to the feed page, so you can see all the site-wide activity that's public on the feed. You can also go ahead and make a post on this page. And what you can also, and this is the example of the profile where you can see your notifications are on the left-hand side, friends are on the right, and the groups and chat are also on the right-hand side. So now we're going to go over some of the working prototype findings. So the home page lacks posting functionality, and this was something that was an issue for the users because they don't necessarily want to go to the feed or to a class to make a post right away. They just want to have that functionality right away. So that was a big issue with a lot of the users. Another issue was the language of the website not being consistent and confusing. So you can kind of see if we go here to the class page, people were confused if going to the class page was different than creating a group, because in BuddyPress it makes all of its things create a group. It doesn't, and I wanted to use the term class just to go with it, but since there were two different words that really threw off users in understanding how to complete the task, so that was something that I had to change, and that pops up a couple other locations on the website. Tasks like writing class descriptions do not provide clear examples of what to write that can lead to confusion. So when you go ahead and create a class, it's going to ask you to write a description of the class, and every time a user tried to do that, they got confused basically on what they were supposed to write, and that's a little frustrating. And then you can write nothing, but that was frustrating for the users. And notifications are not streamlined, so if you're not logged into WordPress before you get into here, there's not going to be a gray bar at the top that tells you you have a notification. It's going to go to your profile page, you'll get an email, but that's not convenient to the user to have an email for it. So those were the big issues. Some of the other features that we wanted to put into the website required plugins that would cost $50, $60. So an example of that would be able to post photos and videos. So that was just something that could be added. It would work really easily. Users understand how it would work, but it's just something we couldn't put into this version just because of the cost. So after looking into those suggestions, we're able to go to the final website right here. Let me shrink it down. All right, and it's gonna naturally shift, but we have the final website. So you can go ahead and see that we have Ask, Engage, Learn as the home thing, but then you can go through and ask, so you learn how the website basically works. So you can ask, you respond, you connect with people, and ultimately you learn. So you have your about, you have your login. What we did, we went ahead and changed some of the language. So instead of saying class, it now says groups. So we went through and adjusted that issue. We can go into a class like Honors 201, and we can see what people have been posting and seeing that people joining the groups, and you can see if people got comments on anything. So here's a person that was looking for research on ancient Greece, and we had one of the students say Wikipedia is a good starting point, but you gotta go look at those sources at the bottom, make sure they're good. So you can see that interaction that we're having on the website. It's functioning as an actual social media website, which is absolutely awesome. We can go to the feed, see right now we got a lot of people joining because they've been trying it out this week. You see the classes, and that's pretty much it. It's using BuddyPress makes it really easy to go ahead and start a social media site. One of the bigger challenges I found so far is managing people who are spamming the website. There are other issues which include still not being able to put the posting functionality on the front page. It's something I was researching and just couldn't get it done before the end of the semester. I would probably have to ask a computer science major to help me out with that in the future if I was looking to expand it further. But those are the really, and then adding the functionality that I couldn't add are the big missing points of the project. And like I said, the spam has been pretty hard. I've put on a spam blocker, but I've had a lot of people spamming the website, putting in fake groups, so that monitoring is really essential, and that would definitely be an issue for users in the future. But overall, I think this project has really challenged me to work as a design thinker. Each way through the process, I've learned and improved the overall product, not for my personal benefit, but for the benefit of users. And I think what I've come to realize more than anything is that by doing that, you get such a better perspective and you just keep wanting to make things better and better. And one of the things I kind of found at the end too was that people didn't necessarily want to go to this as a separate website, but let's say if it was part of Blackboard, that it was already there and they had this functionality in Blackboard because it doesn't exist right now, this would be a huge tool that would be more common to use because now it's just kind of something else they have to go to. So that was one of the things I kind of picked up from the users in the last group of usability testing. But overall, I think users saw this and they see the potential in it, and that it has the ability to make learning more engaging and collaborative. And it's been a really great experience for me overall. Thank you very much.